All right, guys, well, check it out. The heat wave totally hits home here. It is scorchingly hot. Welcome to Fox 5 Live on this Monday, July 2nd. We're going into the holiday week. Super happy to have you with us. Thanks for joining us on some of the top stories of today. We're going to bring you around the live stream with anything that's happening, that's breaking. Ton of top stories to talk about that broke over the weekend. And we're going to start with the greatest of them all, in my opinion, that everyone is leading with this story. In just a second, but also I want to let you know we do have tape of the FBI conference in Cleveland. It just happened a few moments ago about a terrorist threat that was thwarted in that city, in downtown Cleveland. You're just hearing our box go off here for some of the breaking news. But in Cleveland, yeah, the FBI announced that they had thwarted a plot from a terrorist something administered by a terrorist plot in Cleveland for the 4th of July. So pretty scary stuff coming out of Ohio. This all ties in because D.C. is very heightened security this week, of course, for the holiday weekend. We have so many people that come to the downtown area and the mall for 4th of July. So they'll be kind of tying that in and asking the chief of police today what to be aware of here in D.C. But we'll have that tape for you in just a minute. I want to, though, talk about another story, and for this, I'm going to bring in our resident sports aficionado, T. Hey! Guys, we got to talk about LeBron going to LA. Is this not the big story of today?
LeBron going to LA.
Going to the Lakers. People talking about it, posting about it all weekend or whenever it broke. And there's funny things coming out about it. Let's talk. It's a $154 million contract.
For 4 years.
Okay.
And, yeah, so he's going to be playing alongside Lonzo Ball, which is, I guess he was number 1 or number 2 pick last year.
Yeah.
Son of LeVar Ball and the Big Baller Brand CEO. Mm-hmm. So it's, yeah. I think LeBron going to the West Coast is crazy. All Kobe fans are, because back in the days they used to compare the two who's better,
they
Kobe
did.
and LeBron. Now
they're
Kobe
kind
fans,
of,
yeah. I guess they're now kind of respecting LeBron a little bit more, I guess.
I'm hearing that some people are coming out of the woodworks and being like, we're back, we're Lakers fans again,
yeah, exactly.
But they weren't for so long.
Now Lakers might be back on top, The Warriors now have somebody knocking on their door other than the Houston Rockets.
Right.
Last year, or the last playoffs, it was pretty close between the Rockets and the Warriors. But I'm more concerned about the East Coast. Now, nothing's going on anymore. Yeah, since LeBron left Cleveland, there were rumors about LeBron maybe going to the Philadelphia 76ers. So, sorry, Philadelphia. I'm sure you guys
I know. Any Philly fans out there?
They were really expecting him. They wanted him there. But at least they got the Super Bowl. They'll be okay.
True.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, I think LeBron wearing 23,
right,
yellow and purple, that's going to be interesting.
Now, is this the end of his ride? Do you think he'll do the 4 years and that's his kind of career? He ends with the Lakers? I mean, he's getting older.
That's a good question.
We don't know because he's at that age. Everyone talks about him and comparing how long he might go.
And he's always, he's a hometown kid, he loves his state of Cleveland. I mean, Ohio, Cleveland.
Right, in general. He's from Akron?
He's from Akron, Ohio, yeah.
So the interesting thing is on his Instagram story, so tying this all into digital, he posted sort of like a black and white, kind of emotional photo that, Cleveland would always be his home, to kind of show respect to that. Do you think Cleveland residents and fans are feeling a little shaded by this? Or?
I don't think so, because we can't really blame him, especially after the NBA Finals last year. Cleveland was really, they got their butts kicked in the finals. Okay?
He put his heart into it, for sure.
He put
his
He did
skill.
Everything he could. So, the city of Cleveland probably feels the same way. He did all he could.
Yeah.
They're not burning jerseys up like they did when he went to the Heat.
Right.
A couple of years ago, but I'm pretty sure I still have my LeBron jersey.
On station TLC 2,
back
the
then.
translate right now, but we're going to leave that up just in case they go back to Thailand.
So I think the city will take it okay. They are going back to the bottom of the bracket now when it comes to the Eastern standings. So most likely you're just going to see the Boston Celtics. Hopefully the Wizards, teams like the Pacers.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
Yeah, there's a couple good East Coast teams, but now the Western Conference is lit.
Yes.
They are on top of it all now. They have the Warriors, the Rockets, Lebron and the Lakers.
Lebron. Everyone's saying it. Hey, Schultz, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. He says hey to you, T.
Hey, what's up, Schultz?
Good to have you guys on in our newsroom here, just talking about some of the hot stories of the weekend, of the day. LeBron leading all these news shows today. Lebron. Yeah. Let us know what you think, if you have any opinion or thoughts. Maybe you're out on the West Coast and this affects you.
I think LeBron is actually, if he's not the best player in the league, I don't know who is.
As people do say, yeah.
So I feel like he's pretty important, especially going on to a new team. I think the Lakers have opened their arms. Magic Johnson.
Everyone referencing him as following in those footsteps. Why do you think people were so done and burning the jerseys with the Miami switch? Because it was the blatant.
Because it was back then. Actually,
it was him leaving his home.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe back then, it was more like the city felt betrayed because they drafted him straight out of high school, and he was with Cleveland for the whole run, and then all of a sudden him, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade have this alliance now, and then they just Dwayne Wade was already in Miami, but I think Cleveland probably felt very rejected when LeBron said, "Nah, I'm gonna take my talents to South Beach."
I remember that. Specifically. Yes.
So, he didn't say nothing like, I'm taking my talents to the West Coast this time.
He was different about it. He's getting older. He's in a different kind of place in his career, I feel.
But, it's also great for the family. He's got kids, his wife. I'm sure they'll have a fabulous life in L.A.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have perfect weather all year round. You don't got to worry about the cold winter in Cleveland anymore.
Totally. It is beautiful in California. And a funny sort of celebrity connection to this, Chrissy Teigen, the ultimate tweeter, was saying, and other people were doing this too, non-celebrities in LA, but they were saying that they had some sightings of LeBron and his wife. Oh, yeah. And so they were kind of insinuating like he's got to be here to be signing something. So people kind of knew 16 hours before this news dropped.
Yeah, it was like Friday.
That, hey, he's there, he's getting something on his jersey. And so she had a funny kind of, if you guys look it up, a string of tweets about him possibly coming to LA, and then it was announced.
And then there was like all kinds of celebrities, all the ones that are already in LA and that are, longtime Lakers fans. They're rejoicing. They're really excited. Yeah, they're really happy that LeBron came, moved in.
It's fitting to me because he is like celeb status. Like that makes sense to me.
So like, he's
can't say I'm surprised.
Hollywood with all the other celebs. I think they'll be all right. Yeah.
All right. Yes, the ultimate tweeter. Yeah, I do too. I think it fits what it is.
I think the main thing is though the Kobe and LeBron debate. That's what's gonna keep this fire going for a while.
Who's on whose side and who's gonna side with
both
them?
Both are the best. You know what I'm saying? If you can share the number one best NBA player, I'd split it with LeBron and Kobe and Michael Jordan. Like you can't really compare.
I remember we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, if you have any thoughts or comments on this, guys, let us know. We're going into the holiday week. You have any big plans for July 4th?
No, not really. I just came from the beach over the weekend.
Oh, good.
So, I might go back.
This beach right here, this is a live look, guys, at Ocean City.
Ocean City, man.
Were you there?
I was there on Saturday.
Scorching, right?
It was hot. The waves were nice. The water was nice and warm.
It looks beautiful, yeah. I was trying to get out into the pool on Saturday, and it was just hot. You got to get some type of water respite,
I got a tan, all that. I enjoyed myself over the weekend.
Good. Good to get out there. Well, guys, if you're in the area, be protective of yourself. It is a heat wave. People are talking about just the elevated temperatures in the upper 90s into the 100s, it feels like. And it's going to be hot. I'm going to the Nationals game tonight, so I'll be out in the ballpark. But it's probably even going to be hot at night, so got to take precaution.
Weather, yeah, it's going to be like 90s all week again.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
So speaking of Cleveland and all that stuff going on the other side of Cleveland, this is more serious news. Yes, so LeBron may not be there anymore, but today FBI actually announced that they had stopped a terrorist plot for the 4th of July, like a security plot for the holiday. Pretty scary stuff. Yeah, and they just dropped this video. This was the official announcement, and more details were fleshed out about this. So I want to show you guys that. We're going to go right into that. One of our top news stories of the day. So we'll throw you over to that and then bring you some of the other top stories. Thank you, T, for joining us on the Sports Talk.
Thanks, Molly.
To open up our show. Check it out. This is really interesting, guys. FBI illuminating more information on this arrest that they had made. It was going to be a downtown Cleveland terrorist attack. An individual was charged with attempted material support of what they're calling a foreign terrorist organization for planning this attack for July 4th. And this morning, a special agent from the FBI, as well as other people from the Division of Police in Cleveland, were present at this press conference to detail what they know. So here's what we know. This is the press conference right here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our press conference this morning. I'm going to be real brief. Today we have with us the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Stephen Anthony, U.S. Attorney Justin Herdman, and Chief Calvin Williams from Cleveland Police Division that will be speaking today at the press conference. Also present we have Cuyahoga County Sheriff Cliff Pinckney, Hector Feliciano, ASAC of Homeland Security, Mark Gollin, Assistant Field Office Director of ICE, Drew DeSerto, Chief from the U.S. Marshal's Office, Superintendent Colonel Paul Pride from the Ohio State Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Commander Norma Smehal from U.S. Coast Guard, Chief Bob Wagner.
Eunice Ho is going rollerblading, but she's not rollerblading to work or her apartment. She's already gone
on our Joint Terrorism Task Force that were not able to be here today, and we thank them for their participation. I'll turn it over to Steve Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. How we doing? As Vicki said, my name is Steve Anthony. I'm Special Agent in Charge of the Cleveland FBI. Just like to echo what Vicki said and thank all the partners for being here today, and of course recognize those that were not able to make this on short notice. The reason the Joint Terrorism Task Force works is because all the people to my left and right, and we are forever grateful. We're here today to announce the arrest of Demetrius Nathaniel Pitts, also known as Abdur Rahim Rafiq. Pitts has been charged in a federal complaint with attempting to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. Pitts was placed into custody yesterday, Sunday, July 1st at approximately 10 a.m. by the Joint Terrorism Task Force agents and task force officers. A criminal complaint sets forth in detail the facts and circumstances of the investigation and also the attempted material support charge. If you have not received a copy of that complaint, you will so at the end of the press conference. So again, that 30-plus page complaint includes a lot of the details of this investigation, but I think it's important to just spend a few minutes and to go over some of the highlights for you. So in 2017, the FBI received reporting that Pitts was making statements espousing his support for al-Qaeda and also his actions against particular United States entities, his violent intentions, including the armed forces. And as we typically do when we receive this information, we do what? We open an investigation. We check it out. And that's exactly what we did here. It was initially opened out of our Cincinnati field office because Pitts resided in the Southern District of Ohio. And it was also worked in coordination with the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Ohio. So Pitts' statements of violent intentions continue to cause concern during the investigation as he expressed a willingness to conduct a U.S.-based attack and also his desire in wanting to join a foreign terrorist organization. His Facebook posts, quite frankly, were disturbing. They included verbiage that had words to the effect, "We as Muslims need to start training like this every day. We need to know how to shoot guns, throw hand grenades, hand-to-hand combat." An FBI undercover agent was introduced to Pitts in an effort to further determine whether Pitts was in fact a threat to national security. His extensive criminal history, including felonious assault, domestic violence, aggravated robbery, and carrying a concealed weapon, furthered our reason for concern. In May, Pitts relocated to the Cleveland area, and the office here in the JTTF picked up the investigation. Over the next several weeks, Pitts continued to express his radical ideology and his desire to commit violence against the United States. Just last week, during an in-person meeting with our undercover agent, Pitts suggested words to the effect, "I did tell myself that their holiday is coming up, the 4th of July, Independence Day. What would hit them in the core? Blow up, have a bomb, blow up at the 4th of July parade. During communications with the undercover agent, Pitts indicated he would travel downtown and conduct reconnaissance of Voinovich Park and the U.S. Coast Guard station for the purpose of taking photographs and videotape footage. He further, the day or thereafter, walked downtown, all over the downtown, and surveilled these entities, Voinovich Park and the U.S. Coast Guard station, in addition to other locations that had previously been discussed. Additional conversations with extremely concerning statements of intentions made by Pitts are specified in the federal complaint, and they include topics such as hatred for the military, wanting to chop off heads and hands, and disposing of bodies. A final meeting occurred on Sunday morning, as I mentioned yesterday, where the undercover and Mr. Pitts had a lengthy conversation. Pitts again, on his own, expressed his allegiance to Al-Qaeda, his desire to participate in a terror attack on July 4th in Cleveland, Ohio, his desire to kill military personnel and their families, his desire to kill federal and local agents, and his desire to commit a future attack at a date to be determined in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, an area he once resided. At the conclusion of the meeting, Mr. Pitts was arrested, and he will be appearing before a U.S. magistrate later today. I think everyone in the room knows this, but this case illustrates that law enforcement, of course, cannot sit back, in this case, wait for Mr. Pitts to commit a violent act. We don't have the luxury of hoping that an individual decides not to harm someone or get others to act, especially when his continued repeated intentions were to do just that. The Joint Terrorism Task Force, the city, the partners are working every day to detect, deter, and prevent terrorist attacks. That is by far our collective #1 priority to keep the public safe from all known threats. So we'd like just to take a minute to commend the men and women, and some of which are represented over there. And again, there's many in this room, behind the cameras, that are every bit as critical to the work we do each and every day. We also had assistance from the Maple Heights and Garfield Heights Police Department and other, of course, and other entities. Just their hard work, dogged determination throughout the last year and a half. And it's what they do each and every day, behind the scenes, to try to protect us all. This investigation also, we collectively believe, demonstrates that commitment, but also underscores the importance of differentiating between lawful, peaceful exercise of First Amendment rights, rights that we all cherish, and criminal acts and violent desires of a select few, such as Mr. Pitts, who seek to do our community and our country harm. Lastly, I would just like to give a shout out and thank the public. The public, as you'll see in the complaint, provided at least a piece of information that furthered this investigation. It just further illustrates how critical that is. All the partners up here, I know Chief Williams will echo this in a second, and Colonel Pride and others. It is the relationship with the public. It's relying on information each and every day that allows us to do our job. I think this case also illustrates that partnership, not just among the agencies here, but between the public and between the media as well. With that, I will end it, and I'm going to turn it over to our United States Attorney, Mr. Justin Herman. Justin, thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and I want to echo what Steve just said. A huge thanks to all the men and women on Cleveland's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and the men and women of our office too, who work around the clock, make sure our nation, our city, and our community are safe from threats like Demetrius Pitts. Pitts has been charged in federal court with one count of attempting to provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization, and in this case it's Al-Qaeda. The statutory maximum sentence for that charge is 20 years in prison. We will be presenting our evidence to the grand jury seeking an indictment against Mr. Pitts. As Mr. Anthony mentioned, there will be a complaint affidavit provided to the public and will be filed with the court. But as detailed in that affidavit, just last week, this defendant was walking around downtown Cleveland conducting reconnaissance on what he thought was a large-scale attack planned for the 4th of July. He looked for locations to park a van that would be packed with explosives. He talked about taking targets like St. John's Cathedral off the map. And just yesterday, he discussed giving remote control cars packed with explosives and shrapnel to the children of our military uniform members. When asked about the carnage that this would cause, Pitts said comments like, "I don't care, and I have no regrets." As I mentioned, many people worked around the clock on this case over the weekend and over the past several weeks in order to ensure that the public would be safe. Now, in less than 2 hours, Steve and I will be in Mentor, and we're going to be there for the funeral of a husband, a father, and a police officer who was killed in the line of duty. And in just 2 days, Americans will gather with friends and family, probably over backyard barbecues, to celebrate our nation's birthday. And I bring both of those things up because they both acknowledge an observance of what our nation represents, both in principle and in practice. This defendant, by his own words and by his own deeds, wanted to attack our nation and its ideals. He wanted to target, even initially, from the very beginning of this, people at a July 4th parade. And he also talked about wanting to target people watching fireworks over downtown Cleveland, right outside this building. But he also wanted to strike at the values that are at the very core of our nation. He wanted us to be afraid to speak our minds. He also wanted us to be afraid to gather together in public places. So I ask this week that we all continue to gather, continue to celebrate America, continue to celebrate our men and women in law enforcement, to acknowledge those who have given their lives in the line of duty, to engage in the exchange of ideas that is central to our democracy, to continue to have our barbecues and continue to go see fireworks, knowing that our police, our sheriff's department, and our justice department employees will remain vigilant in protecting our community. Thank you. Turn over to Chief Williams now. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to start off by thanking Special Agent in Charge Stephen Anthony of the FBI here in Cleveland and U.S. Attorney Herdman. As they stated, an incident like this doesn't get resolved in silos. Our partnerships are very important here in Northeast Ohio, as you can see by the people represented here on the stage, and we continue to foster those partnerships and to get the word out to people to let us know when things are happening. On behalf of Mayor Jackson, I definitely want to thank Steve Anthony, the members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. A lot of them aren't here today, but their work does not go unnoticed. Definitely our partners that you see here standing today. But I also want to talk to our communities out there, because as Steve stated, you don't solve these things alone. You definitely need the public's help. You definitely need our vigilance, and we're just starting summer here. And this isn't, the first holiday that happens over the summer. So we need to make sure that we stay vigilant. We need to make sure that we keep our eyes and ears open. Law enforcement is going to be out there this summer. We're going to be at every major event. We're going to be out there day in and day out for our community. So if you see something, definitely say something. Notify a law enforcement officer, notify somebody that can actually respond and check it out. It may be nothing, but it may be something. This thing started with a person that started talking online about what he wanted to do. And it escalated into what you have today. So our community definitely needs to stay vigilant. We need to make sure that we keep each other safe. We need to keep our plans up. We need to keep our intelligence gathering up, because those that seek to do us harm are doing exactly the same thing. So we have to stay vigilant. Again, I want to thank our partners. I want to thank Steve and his folks here. They do an excellent job here in Northeast Ohio for us, and they're definitely to be commended on this operation. Thank you.
Take a few questions.
Steve, did he have access to explosives, and do you know if he had the capability to build explosives?
I will say this, and I'll let the complaint speak for itself, but the trick with these things is we only know what we know, right? What we're able to do as an investigative team, coming together to try to determine, again, his intent, his ability to execute and the like. And so we don't know fully, quite honestly, whether he had all of these abilities. He definitely, throughout many conversations and over a long period of time, expressed his ability to either through the undercover agent or through others to obtain that. So his intent and his desire to find someone that could do that, if he could not, remain clear throughout. His precise ability to do specific things, again, we may never know. I will say that we didn't have specific information that he had a past history of being able to do that.
Steve, have you guys searched his home, and if so, what did you find?
As you can imagine, and I can let Justin speak to that if he wants to, but we're conducting all logical investigation. I'm not gonna speak to actually specific things that we're doing, investigative steps that we're taking to help resolve this entire case.
Yeah, again, as Steve said, I don't think we want to get into specific investigative steps that have been taken or not taken at this point in time, but suffice it to say that it did not stop with the arrest of Mr. Pitts. We've done everything we can to complete the investigation.
When you say he had ties to Al-Qaeda, are they just ties that he voiced, or do you have specific information?
What we have is throughout the investigation is his repeated desire to join, to be part of a foreign terrorist organization, specifically Al-Qaeda. So his intent was to be part of what they do, part of the organization. And again, some of the complaint talks about that in details. Again, that was his stated desire to be part of a foreign terrorist organization. That's why, as Mr. Herman would say, the charge of attempting to provide material support to such organization is able to be charged because of his repeated desire, stated desire to want to be part of and recognized as part of Al-Qaeda.
Have there been other communications? Are there other people that might be charged along with him?
At this time, Mr. Pitts is the person being charged.
American citizen, already in the country, and the third question, you could make them all mix and answer one. Why we don't have somebody when they came to this country interviewing these people to find out their background? That way we could prevent not to happen again.
Let me answer your first part of the question. Is Mr. Pitts is a United States citizen. And again, this case is a stark reminder that it doesn't take a individual that even born here or foreign to go over to a foreign land and participate in some sort of engagement to come back here ready to commit an act. Mr. Pitts is a United States citizen, radicalized in the United States, planning to commit a terrorist attack in the United States. As far as the efforts of the United States government makes to vet all people that come to the country, of course, we do just that. I don't know if Justin wants to comment on that, but I mean, I don't know if your question suggests that doesn't happen. I don't think I would agree with the premise of your question. And again, quite frankly, for this discussion, it may be irrelevant because Mr. Pitts was a United States citizen.
Do you know if he traveled out of the country at any point while you were watching him?
Do not have any information that he traveled out of the country.
What does his family say about him? Is this a sudden thing, or had he been expressing these views for longer than springtime?
As you can imagine, as Mr. Herman said, the investigation is continuing just to determine all that. Again, there's a lot of work still to be done, and so I can't comment on that. I don't have that information. Anything else?
Chief, any plans for increased security on the 4th of July?
Yes and no. I mean, we always increase our security postures during special events, whether it's the 4th of July, St. Patrick's Day, you name it. And you folks have been out there during those events, so you see the level of security. But does this heighten everybody's sense of awareness of what's going on? Of course it does. But are we putting out extra patrols? Not necessarily, but we always have what we feel to be a more than adequate security plan for our special events. 4th of July is no different. And you'll definitely know that we're out there. And then there are some folks out there that you won't know are out there. So we're going to have our same posture. We just want people to be vigilant. We want people to help us out. If you see something, definitely let law enforcement know so we can check it out. Thanks.
Anything else? All right, if not, thank you very much again for being here. We'll make sure that when you leave here today that you get a copy of the complaint, correct? All right.
Any pictures there?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Thanks, everyone. His mugshot's on the screen if you guys want to capture that.
Thank you.
So guys, definitely some scary details there as far as it goes for police thwarting this plot in Cleveland. This is the suspect that they were releasing the obviously mugshot of this morning, and that was just a mere hour or less ago. So that's really new news there that the FBI has been working on that in downtown Cleveland of all spots. This obviously spurs a lot of people to think about security in their own city when it comes to the 4th of July, including here in DC. I know we have one reporter today working on that story. They're going to be talking with the police chief and the mayor about what is happening here in DC to kind of make sure things are secure down in the downtown area, the mall, where we always do a big celebration and fireworks and things of that nature. So it's going to be a busy week, and we're going to have all eyes on security for sure. But before we go into anything else, nothing really pressing coming in live that we can share with you. We are live in our newsroom here at Fox 5 DC. Let's go to some of our top stories of today that we here at WTTG have been working on, and also our sister stations across the country. Some of the biggest stories ranging from everything politics to other things that are in the news as far as weather and things. So stay with us here. Here are some of our top stories.
A fast-moving wildfire breaks out in Northern California, quickly exploding in size. The blaze in Yolo County started Saturday, and by Sunday it had grown to more than 20,000 acres. Officials quickly issued evacuation notices, while people like Doug Coates decided to flee on their own.
My wife said she kept on hearing trucks going up and down the road. Come back in, says, I think maybe we better start getting ready to evacuate. And I went out and looked, and there was just smoke was going everywhere.
In addition to the mandatory evacuations, many more residents are under pre-evacuation orders, told to be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Are we next? You know,
we're prepared.
We're prepared. We've got our vehicles all packed up and we're ready. We're ready to go in 5 minutes.
Thick, heavy smoke has been drifting into other counties. People around Napa and San Francisco are being warned about poor air quality. The Yolo County fire comes as crews are still working to contain the Pawnee fire in neighboring Lake County.
There's other fires going in the area. From what I understand, they're releasing resources from those other fires, and they're coming here to assist with this fire.
That blaze is not as large as the one in Yolo, but it is threatening many homes.
If it takes a house, it takes a house, you know. We will survive.
Flames jumped some of the containment lines this weekend, prompting another round of evacuations. Crews hope to have the Pawnee fire completely contained by midweek. While temperatures are soaring, the humidity and winds are expected to drop, giving fire crews an advantage. In Los Angeles, Robert Gray, Fox News.
President Trump and the First Lady arrived back at the White House Sunday from New Jersey after a weekend where the focus was centered on one seat in Washington.
But I'm going to pick somebody who's outstanding, and I think, yes, I think we will go very quickly. I actually believe
Just as Anthony Kennedy's retirement set in motion a high-stakes guessing game with a very short timetable. President Trump wants to announce Kennedy's replacement a week from today, and he's reportedly narrowed his list of 25 candidates to an even shorter list of 7, including 2 women.
The president is looking for someone who will overturn Roe versus Wade.
Democrats are warning that the next justice could be pivotal to the survival of the landmark decision that legalized abortion. And some Republican senators who will decide the fate of the president's nominee say that issue could be a deal breaker.
Candidate for this important position who would overturn Roe v. Wade would not be acceptable to me, because that would indicate an activist agenda that I don't want to see a judge have.
With just 51 Republican senators and Senator John McCain in Arizona, the president can't afford to lose a single GOP vote. But in the midst of a midterm election season, that math could potentially change with some unexpected crossovers.
There could be an interesting position for some of these vulnerable red state Democrats who are facing tough re-election campaigns in November to go ahead and support the president's nominee, because they do represent states where the president won overwhelmingly during the 2016 presidential election.
That's right. You know, when you're in your car in the AC, you might not think about how quickly your car can heat up when you turn the AC off and you get out and shut the door. But there's an app on your phone that's helping to make sure you don't leave your kids in the car. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 99 degrees outside can feel like 123 degrees inside your vehicle within just an hour.
Just make sure we pay attention, right? And make sure we don't spend that much time in the car, or take them out of the car when we get out of the car.
I can imagine a scenario where you would forget your child in the back seat. I've never experienced it, of course, and at the same time, I've always been mindful of the care of my child.
The National Safety Council says on average 37 children die each year in the U.S. as a result of heat stroke. But in 2017, 42 children died, up from 39 the year before. The feature in the Waze app is meant to keep the little ones safe. When you're in the app, you go up to Settings and then go down to General. And here you'll see Child Reminder. Click on that and turn it on. Simple additional precautions law enforcement officials say could help prevent the unthinkable. Place your bag or shoes in the back seat with your child, look before you lock when getting out of your car, and keep your keys out of the reach of children so they can't get inside your vehicle. And for folks traveling this holiday weekend, AAA is reminding drivers the sweltering heat could trigger vehicle breakdowns. So if you're traveling for the holiday, check batteries and tires and pack an emergency kit with plenty of water. Now, there are devices for your car seat that would actually go off as an alert once you actually cut off the car. You know, it's just another safety mechanism to help make sure that children aren't left in cars and to avoid heat stroke fatalities. But now, Melissa Howell, Fox 5 Local News.
Some heroes wear capes.
Oh my goodness, you're such a good boy.
And, well, some wear fur.
You are the best.
Meet Todd, the 6-month-old golden retriever turned hero. The story of his actions taking the internet by storm and taking his owner here, Paula Godwin, by the heart.
He's just like, a superhero, really.
Friday morning started normal for the Godwins. They would head out for a morning walk. But Paula says they tried a different path. This one near 7th Street and Carefree. Beautiful scenery here.
We went up the hike. Everything was good.
On the way down is when things would go wrong.
I'm always cautious, always on alert. I'm very vigilant of my surroundings.
But this time, something would catch little Todd's eyes before it caught Paula's.
Todd literally kind of bolted quickly toward my leg.
And right in front of them was a rattlesnake.
He was a gray, white, speckled rattlesnake that looked identical to that road.
It quickly sprung into action, biting Todd by the mouth.
So the snake bit him right there, as you can see, like right there's one of the wounds.
Todd doing much better today, swelling from Friday going down significantly. Paula can't help but think about how his actions likely saved her from stepping right on the snake.
He did save me. I really believe that if he wouldn't have, if he wasn't curious to see what was by my leg, I'm almost sure that snake would have bit my leg. He's definitely a hero. A lot of people think of him as a hero. He's definitely my hero for sure.
50 perfect fingers and 50 perfect toes. Mom Jamie Scott still marvels at her quintuplets every time she holds them in the neonatal intensive care unit where they've been staying since they were born March 29th.
Okay. Hi. This one looks the most like her daddy.
She has fuller lips like her dad.
Today, she's making only her second attempt to hold all 5 babies at the same time.
It takes a village to put them on your lap.
So now move your arms out so that we can make room for the boys.
Oh my gosh.
So do you want Lincoln on? Does it matter?
Sure.
Getting close. Jamie, you're almost there.
Oh my gosh.
A feat she knows will soon be impossible as her 2 baby boys and 3 girls continue to grow.
And they all fit inside of me.
Jamie never imagined she'd have 5 babies at once. She was simply praying for 1.
But there was always this just longing in my heart for one more baby.
With 2 boys, Shaden and Landon, Jamie dreamed of having a girl.
We had been trying for 6 years to get pregnant. All those years added up of longing and hoping and wishing.
Her wish got multiplied by 5 after a single round of in vitro fertilization.
Typically with infertility centers, a woman is blessed to be able to get pregnant with 1 baby. Sometimes these clinics will have multiples, usually twins, but usually nothing more than that.
Today, her husband Skylar was back in Utah at home with their older boys. Jamie is living in Phoenix until the babies are ready to go home.
I am excited to go home. Sad to leave Phoenix, though. I've really come to love the people here in Phoenix. They've been incredible to us.
How do you bring 5 babies home?
We have a minivan and that doesn't fit all of us in there. So we'll need a couple of cars to get back home. I ordered car seats yesterday.
Until they go home later this month or early in June, Jamie's days revolve around strengthening her bond with the babies.
We have Lincoln and Lily and Daisy in the middle and Violet and Logan.
The Scotts see this as a miracle that only happened with a lot of hope, faith, and the help of Dr. John Elliott, a world-renowned expert in high-risk multiple births.
Logan's water broke at 21 and a half weeks. We thought we'd be losing the Quints then. Usually when you lose one, you lose all in a high-order multiple situation.
We were pretty down at 21 weeks. We went through some ups and downs, as Jane said. The downs were difficult, but then the ups really became the hope, and how we focused on getting as far as we could to get these babies here healthy.
Thankfully, the babies survived and were born with no serious health issues.
So Logan is our fighter, our strong little boy that created a way for everyone to stay put within me. We owe a lot to our little Logan boy. He's doing great. Lincoln was born the smallest at 2 pounds. He is just a sweetie. So when I was pregnant, he was the closest probably to my heart. Violet, and she's very sweet. Daisy was our biggest baby, and she was right in the center when I was pregnant with her, so she knew how to get the party started. Miss Lily is just a sweetheart. She's just happy.
And talk about happy. That's how this mom feels every time she holds these bundles of joy.
These are all my babies. I did this, and I just had so much gratitude that I get to have this experience, that I get to be here. Because at 21 and a half weeks, I didn't know if that was, I still get emotional talking about if that was something I'd get to experience.
The next chapter will be a challenge. One the Scotts will take on with much love and support from friends and family.
I think in the beginning we'll need to have quite the system set up. Laundry being done, the house being tidied up, bottles being washed, babies being fed, diapers being changed. We have a guest bedroom that is now probably going to be a nursery. And the little nursery we had set up is just this teeny tiny little room with 1 crib. We've got some work to do.
So is she ready for what's to come?
Oh, I definitely have freak out moments. But it all comes together at the end of the day. The day's complete and whole.
Tell me, baby, what's your story? Where you come from and where you wanna go this time on? Tell me, baby.
Carrie Lake, Fox News.
When you pull forward from backing up, you forgot your left blinker.
Before her summer vacation, Sickles High student Lauren Slaybaugh is getting some hands-on driving experience.
Back.
Lauren will eventually be responsible for watching her driving and the drivers around her.
You need to be constantly aware of everything that's happening around you.
Easy distractions like cell phones are tempting and dangerous, as this video from AAA demonstrates, especially during the stretch called the 100 Deadliest Days, from Memorial Day until the start of school.
They're going to have more free time to be driving, usually accompanied by their friends, which also adds to the dangers.
Teen crashes increased during the summer months, with the average number of deaths climbing 16% over other times of the year.
If I can get in a car and drive from my home to school without seeing someone with a video on, doing their makeup.
Driver's ed instructor Tammy Overcash says kids are used to being preoccupied in the car. She's found a way to send a message.
If I do find a cell phone in the car, they are finished driving for the day, and they do have to pick it up after school in the main office.
Speeding is also a factor. In some cases, teens aren't wearing seatbelts.
People still are dealing with, being out there not being restrained, and that's going to obviously add to the fatality.
Lauren's parents give her guidance.
It's good that they do. I'm glad that they do, because otherwise I could be in some serious trouble.
Being a safe driver is not just about being careful, but also considerate.
We're all on the streets together, and we just want to get to our destination safely.
Mark Wilson, Fox News.
The excessive heat became an even greater danger when 148 people, mostly elderly, had to be evacuated from the Virtua Long-Term Care and Rehab Center in Mount Holly and moved to 2 other facilities after a mechanical problem shut down power and air conditioning. Crews spent several hours fixing the issue before the seniors were given the all-clear to return. Meanwhile, in Philly,
we're really trying to make this happen.
Temps in the upper 90s did not stop Ricky Pena and family from doing the Rocky Run. They came all the way from Texas to do it, and they know how to handle the heat.
We have some water right here we bought on the way, and we made a long walk actually from Independence Hall.
Okay.
So we walked all the way.
A nice day also means getting around on rollerblades, but the strategy remains the same.
If you bring enough water and you just try to keep moving and keep the breeze going, you can stay cool and have a good time.
Then there's those blocking the sun with umbrellas and treating the damage with some cool and refreshing ice cream.
The sun and the heat is really hot, but this is going to refresh us, hopefully, the water, and it's been a great day, though.
When the call comes in,
rescue packets are.
The call goes out.
That prescribed response time is 5 minutes.
And these rescuers are on the water and on the move.
We have a high standard of performance.
Students at Eckerd College's search and rescue program at the southern tip of St. Pete, responding to rescue calls on Tampa Bay and in the Gulf.
One of you on the bow line and one of you on the stern line.
Cleared.
Today, they train for tomorrow's marine emergency. They're rescuing a swimmer and learning how to ride a boat, something that's much harder than it looks. And all this is not even a degree program.
Snap!
These students answer this call purely for extra credit and volunteer hours. Ryan Dilkey's their instructor.
Says a lot for the students. Yes, the type of student that gravitates towards this is predominantly one that wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
Students like Rasheen Burke, who came from Connecticut.
Well, this is not your typical extra credit class, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm a business management major, so this is far from what I'm doing in classes, but it's awesome.
And Steve Weekman, all the way from Minneapolis.
It's really good to see a bunch of college students being able to make a difference.
And there's nothing else like it in the country, the only marine rescue program at any college or university in the nation. And they stay busy.
Last year we did 618 calls. We helped over 800 people and rescued $6.2 million in property.
Got to be proud of that.
We're pretty proud of that one.
But they may be proudest of their graduates. They've had a number of high-profile rescues, an emotional night finding the baby thrown off the skyway, rescuing an elderly couple and their dogs in high seas, putting out boat fires, even recovering an airplane. Life-saving, life-changing experiences for the rescued and the rescuers.
My first case was a missing people search, and that was kind of when I first realized that we're doing real stuff to help people.
Such an effect, it's altered many of their career paths. Several have gone on to careers in law enforcement or emergency management. Many graduates end up in the military, quite a few end up joining the Coast Guard. As for Steve,
I'm looking into going into Coast Guard right now, actually, which is something I had also never considered until I came onto the team.
and their instructor, also now a member of the Coast Guard Reserve.
And all because of this program.
Yes, absolutely.
Dilke enrolled as a student 24 years ago. Like the others, just looking for some adventure.
And I loved it so much, I just stayed with it, became an instructor, and then took over the program in 2006, and I've been here ever since.
You found your home.
I did indeed.
An open-air classroom with a school bell that rings a higher calling. Mark Wilson, Fox News.
I've been down the big, huge, really scary slides. They're fun.
The wave pool for sure. This thing is my favorite.
It's a place to take a break and have some fun. But many come to dodge the heat and stay cool.
You have to get in the water when it's these temperatures, or you're just gonna have some issues with the heat.
Safari Joe's H2O says they're not complaining about the weather. They say hot temperatures arrived early this summer have stayed consistent, just like their visitors.
Just from being out here each and every day and seeing the crowds in the pool, that our numbers are definitely up this year from where they were last year.
Lifeguard Supervisor Bill Von Dayton says weather hurt business last summer, saying both June and August brought cooler temperatures. But already since opening day Memorial Weekend, their business is running strong.
Season pass sales were real strong because the weather was strong. And that's the type of business this is. If the weather's nice, people are coming. If they wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and it's cloudy and it's cool, they're doing something else.
Von Dayton says good profit means more improvement. They've already invested in newer motors, plumbing, filters, and added new slides.
It's a whole different place than it was 5 years ago.
For 1 week out of the year,
There's one.
they all come together to play, to make music, and to dance.
What makes this camp so special? I don't know, a lot. No one judges you.
14-year-old Chance Snow is a first-time SOAR camper. SOAR stands for Special Olympics Athletic Retreat in South Charlotte. It's free for the campers who are children and adults with special needs.
They say here it's like Disney World or like a love fest because there's so much happiness, you know.
Chance is paired with George McDowell, his camp buddy.
He's a very smart kid, so he's taught me a couple math tricks with calculators and stuff. And so it's cool to learn about him and just be friends with him.
There are almost 400 campers and even more volunteers. Chance didn't know anyone when he came.
You feel at home here now? How so?
Just do anything. No one obligates you to do anything. You don't have to participate or like aerobics. I didn't have to do it.
Did you try it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah,
Did you
it's
like
boring.
it?
No.
Oh, boring.
It's boring.
Okay. Okay.
A chance to be themselves and dance if they want to. In South Charlotte, Robin Kennedy, Fox News.
Protesters and activists, young and old, came together today, united by one message.
Keep families together.
It was one of hundreds of protests held all across the country, challenging the Trump administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy that left more than 2,000 children separated from their parents.
They're tearing families apart, and I don't like it whatsoever.
Madeline Thompson's sign drew attention at the rally for its resemblance to the issue's most powerful image. Her mother says she wanted to be a part of the change.
I'm disgusted by our government and the fact that they will allow this to continue.
But just last week, this.
We're keeping the family together.
President Trump signed an executive order promising to stop separating families.
We're going to have a lot of happy people.
But Joshua Contreras, a part of the DACA student group who organized this rally, still has questions.
What's happening with the current status of the families that were separated? What's happening with all the children
that we're lost and we're not accounted for.
At this time, thousands still remain separated, and a federal judge has ruled that they must be reunited with their parents within 30 days. Reporting in Tampa, Jennifer Holton, Fox 13 News.
This will be a busy week for the White House. A lot to consider for such a monumental decision. And one issue in particular that's historically been a litmus test for Democrats may be one for Republicans too. President Trump and the First Lady arrived back at the White House Sunday from New Jersey after a weekend where the focus was centered on one seat in Washington.
But I'm going to pick somebody who's outstanding. And I think, yes, I think we will go very quickly. I actually believe that.
Justice Anthony Kennedy's retirement set in motion a high-stakes guessing game with a very short timetable. President Trump wants to announce Kennedy's replacement a week from today, and he's reportedly narrowed his list of 25 candidates to an even shorter list of 7, including 2 women.
The president is looking for someone who will overturn Roe versus Wade.
Democrats are warning that the next justice could be pivotal to the survival of the landmark decision that legalized abortion. And some Republican senators who will decide the fate of the president's nominee say that issue could be a deal breaker.
Candidate for this important position who would overturn Roe v. Wade would not be acceptable to me, because that would indicate an activist agenda that I don't want to see a judge have.
With just 51 Republican senators and an ailing Senator John McCain in Arizona, the president can't afford to lose a single GOP vote. But in the midst of midterm election season, that math could potentially change with some unexpected crossovers.
There could be an interesting position for some of these vulnerable red state Democrats who are facing tough re-election campaigns in November to go ahead and support the president's nominee, because they do represent states where the president won overwhelmingly during the 2016 presidential election.
President Trump says he likely will not ask potential nominees about Roe v. Wade. He says instead he'll focus on their overall credentials as he begins interviewing them here in Washington this week. In Washington, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
At the University of Minnesota Schulz Diabetes Institute, Dr. Bernard Herring is overseeing the next major development in treating diabetes. Dr. Herring and his colleagues, including students with diabetes, are on the cusp of finding a cure, and it will come from pigs. Cells from a pig's pancreas are being made to match human cells in a completely sterile laboratory that is the first of its kind in the country.
It's a privilege being able to contribute to much better treatments for diabetes and maybe a cure for diabetes.
For many years, the U of M has been a world leader in human-to-human islet cell transplantation. But there's a shortage of human donors, and a major side effect are the anti-rejection drugs patients must take to survive.
50% tolerate medication fairly well. Nobody likes it, but tolerate it fairly well. Some 50% or at least 25% struggle and develop real complications such as infectious problems or even cancers.
Stephanie Arneson was diagnosed with diabetes 52 years ago.
And so instead of my diabetes being under control, it was kind of controlling me and my family. I had 2 young girls and a husband working full time, and I would just pass out and no warnings. I was testing my blood probably 20 times a day, because you test before you drive, you test before you pick up the kids, eat after you eat, in the middle of the night, just to make sure that you are not on the floor and the ambulance isn't being called.
So she had a human-to-human transplant back in 2001 and calls herself diabetes-free. But she also knows the anti-rejection side effects all too well.
I get really bad infections. I've had fungal pneumonia. You get really tired because you're always trying to fight something in your body. Your body's trying to fight those cells out. I get skin infections. I get mouth sores.
Now, scientists are discovering widely available pig cells can be genetically modified to eliminate anti-rejection concerns. And millions of diabetics worldwide are keeping a close eye on what's next.
We have now more and more reason to believe that we can turn it into a tangible benefit for patients and their families burdened by diabetes. We can make transplantation routine and commonplace and available on demand without a waiting list.
If I wouldn't have to be on anti-rejections and not have diabetes, that would be perfect. I'd be all over it. Bring it on.
Jeff Passelt, Fox News.
Left-winger Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador rides his popularity to victory in Mexico's presidential election.
I will govern honestly and justly. I will not fail you. I will not disappoint you, and I will not betray my people.
Obrador gained a strong following with rousing populist speeches, vowing to eradicate widespread corruption. Crime has skyrocketed in Mexico, much of it tied to politics. More than 130 of the thousands of government candidates were killed during the campaign. But analysts also say Obrador simply connected with Mexican voters. He's vowed to turn the presidential palace into a park and continue to live in his small townhouse. A big issue this election, the United States and President Donald Trump. Obrador has promised to challenge President Trump, especially when it comes to his immigration policies.
We are talking about dignity, the dignity of the Mexican people. We need a very strong president to confront Donald Trump.
President Trump has been congratulatory, tweeting congratulations to Obrador on becoming the next president of Mexico, adding, quote, "I look very much forward to working with him. There's much to be done that will benefit both the United States and Mexico." Obrador's opponents warn his leftist policies may wreck Mexico's economy, turning their country into, quote, "another Venezuela." In Los Angeles, Robert Gray, Fox News.
The shirt was made for a guy that's 5'10" or 6 foot, not for guys that are 5'2" to 5'8".
Take a look and ask yourself, what's wrong with this picture?
The sleeves are way too long, the body length doesn't work.
Ask anyone into fashion and they'll tell you a lot. Everything's too big and too long on this model, Scott. He's short and not ashamed of it, especially with the right threads. He's working for Ash and Erie, a company that's taken off.
You were on the Shark Tank. What was that like?
It was one of those once-in-a-lifetime incredible experiences. We never expected to be on the show, but it was an amazing opportunity.
An idea to make clothes for guys 5'8" or shorter. Ash and Erie bosses say there's 40 million guys who are considered to be short. A huge market.
You go to the mall, you buy something, you take it to the tailor, and it's the norm. It's just expected. And there's a certain point for us where we said, all right, this isn't the norm. This isn't how our taller friends shop. Let's go and fix that.
The company just hit a milestone. They've hit $1 million in sales. That's a lot of shirts. And this Detroit success story that helps solve short people's wardrobe woes is just getting started in a sense. Started back in 2015, they've buttoned up the market for shorter guy shirts. But there's jeans too.
For us, it's a great time to be focusing on fit and helping shorter guys find the right option because that's definitely in trend.
The difference between wearing a shirt that kind of fits and one that fits well is a feeling men are wearing on their sleeves. Confidence. You can feel it.
The body length is correct, the collar's proportioned right, and the overall fit just makes sense. I want something that fits well because that's what looks the best. Yeah. And when you look your best, you feel your best and are more confident too.
So you guys can see just a variety of the top stories of the day here from the DMV area here in DC to around the nation. I wanted to bring those to you from our newsroom. Later on, we're going to have a little bit of chat inside our newsroom with some of our other producers about some of the more social stories, social media stories that are coming out, and some of the bigger talkers of today, including, guys, did you know this? Best Buy is officially ending the sale of CDs. They made that announcement in February, but today it has just come out that it is ending. So we're going to talk about that with some of them other millennials in the newsroom, as well as some more serious stuff. Bill Belichick, head coach of the Patriots, released a statement on the Annapolis shooting, that shooting in the Capitol Gazette from last week. He is originally from Annapolis, and so he put out an official statement. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, as well as a couple other top things that we've been looking at, including Another sort of millennial story, right? An anonymous person bought $1 million worth of toys at a Toys R Us to donate to children, knowing that they were going out of business. It prepared to close for good on Friday night, but an employee at the Raleigh location bought out that much money worth of toys for children. So really cute, heartwarming story out of Raleigh and that location of the Toys R Us. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us here on our stream. We're going to shoot you back to the beach where there is an extreme heat wave here and all along the coast of Maryland. Check out this live look at Ocean City and enjoy it. And then we'll come back into the newsroom.
The one thing which I was concerned about was whether it'd be difficult to breathe in the humidity, but in the sessions I've had, it's been fine. So, of course, I'll have to adapt and hopefully get used to it, but it's been okay so far.
Moises?
Wayne, Moises Linares for Telemundo and NBC Washington. I'm sure you're aware that you're coming to one of the most decorated teams in Major League Soccer, but also one that's been the worst in MLS for the past few years. What are your expectations during your time here? Have they told you if somebody else is going to come to support you, or are you going to be the guy leading this team during the next 3.5 years?
I'm sure there's more players going to come in. Hopefully that's the case anyway, and we want to keep trying to build on the team. And as I said before, I know it's been a tough few years for the club, but the club's moving in the right direction. I think the league has got better, and I think the club's realised that, and we have to improve if we want to be successful again. And I believe that's what the club is trying to do. Of course, with the new stadium coming, the training ground, which all look fantastic. But in order for the club to move forward, then we will need to bring a few more players in, and I'm sure the manager and the owners are looking at that and looking at players who they can bring in.
Right here.
Harry Horton, Feature Story News. I've got a question for each of you. For Dave, could you just talk us through the logistics of the transfer, how that came about? I mean, I know it lasted for about a month or so. Right. Who approached who first? And was there ever any moments where you weren't confident the transfer was going to go through? And then for Wayne, I'm just curious as to why you were attracted to Washington as a city. So aside from DC United and aside from all the things that you might get from the club, what was it that made you decide you wanted to move here with your family and live in Washington?
We made the first approach to Wayne several months ago. It was a long process, but a very smooth process. I want to thank Paul Stretford, a top professional, very easy to work with on some days. But in the end, he had the best interest of Wayne, from Jason Levian and Sam Porter, who was our lead negotiator in Major League Soccer. We have a team working there. We put our minds together, and we got it done. So it was a very professional process and a very smooth process. And I believe we all felt at the end of the day that this was going to get done because Wayne was our number one priority in this upcoming market. And we were told, and from Wayne directly when he was here in Washington in May, that he was all in. That he was all in on this project and wanted this to get done. So we were confident we could get all the little details finalized. So we're thrilled to have concluded this deal.
Yeah, I think I've been to a few different states in the US, and it seemed like the right fit to bring my family up. And obviously with the project of DC, and I looked into the area, and I wanted to come over and have a look around to see it obviously first. I've been here before, but I wanted to have a look around to see it firsthand, and it just seemed like the right place where my family could move over, go to school, the children, and have a nice upbringing. Here I've been to places like LA, New York, and it's too hectic. It's like London for me. I've never fancied going to live in London. I need my own space to get away from things when I need to, and Washington seemed to give me that opportunity to do that.
All right, this concludes our Q&A. We'll go ahead and have Jason, if you don't mind coming back to the stage. Dave and Wayne will have you stand right here, and we'll do a quick photos. If we'll let video take the photo first, get the shot first, so photographers stay down. Can we flip it to the back? Okay, we appreciate you guys coming out today. That concludes our press conference. There will be media availability in a mix zone just out in the hallway. So Wayne will join you there in just a few moments. Yep. Yep. Hang on. And then Wayne, flip it too.
But very interesting, though, was my 4 meetings. I'll be meeting with 2 or 3 more, and we'll make a decision on the United States Supreme Court, the new justice. That'll be made over the next few days, and we'll be announcing it on Monday, and I look forward to that. I think the person that is chosen will be outstanding. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Over the next, I'll be announcing that on Monday. Monday. WTO's treated the United States very badly, and I hope they change their ways. They have been treating us very badly for many, many years, and that's why we were at a big disadvantage with the WTO. And we're not planning anything now, but if they don't treat us properly, we will be doing something. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's always like that.
Let's go! Make your way out, everyone! Let's go!
Come on.
Here we go.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everybody.
This is a big group.
Big group. Academy Awards. Bigger. Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to have the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. That's the official title. That sounds very elegant and beautiful, but it's a great honor to have you. We've worked together and have a very, very close relationship. I think the relationship with the Netherlands has never been better than it is now. We'll be meeting over the next 2 weeks again at NATO, and we'll be discussing that today also. And we are discussing trade and the EU and lots of other things. Tremendous numbers are coming out of the United States and our government. Our economy is very good. It's probably the best it's ever been. And we are very close to making some very good trade deals, fair trade. I didn't want to say good, I want to say fair. Fair trade deals for our taxpayers and for our workers and our farmers. And a lot of good things are happening. I think the EU, we're going to be meeting with them fairly soon. They want to see if they can work something out. And that'll be good. And if we do work it out, that'll be positive. And if we don't, it'll be positive also, because
no,
we'll just think about those cars that pour in here, and we'll do something, right?
We have to work.
But it'll be positive. But again, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for being here.
It's good to be here. And can I add to this that the relationship between the Netherlands and the United States is over 400 years old. Yeah. We are allies. We have always been friends, always been friendly, working closely together. And our talks today will no doubt concentrate on jobs and on security, because the President and I, we are both convinced that as leaders, our prime task is essentially to make sure that our countries are safe and stable, and that we have an economy which is providing the jobs and the future growth for our people. And there are so many opportunities between the United States and the Netherlands to do more, both in the area of security as well as in the area of having more jobs and having more trade and more investments. Already almost 1 million people, 825,000 in a job in the US because of Dutch investments, and 250,000 people in a job because of US investments in the Netherlands. Right. And our aim will be to increase those numbers, to be more successful. So I'm really looking forward to our discussions.
That's a great honor. Okay. And I will say that I just spoke with the President-elect of Mexico. We had a great conversation, about a half an hour long. We talked about border security, we talked about trade, we talked about NAFTA, we talked about a separate deal, just Mexico and the United States. We had a lot of good conversation. I think the relationship would be a very good one. We'll see what happens, but I really do believe it's going to be a very good one. He had a very excellent election, did, I would say, even better than anticipated. I told him a number of years ago when I saw him campaigning for a different race, frankly, a different year, a different race. I said someday he's going to be the president of Mexico, so he remembered that, and it turned out to be correct. We had a great talk. In the morning, during the morning, I interviewed and met with 4 potential justices of our great Supreme Court. They are outstanding people. They are really incredible people in so many different ways, academically and every other way. And I had a very, very interesting morning. So between the president of Mexico and also the I guess you would call him the president-elect, but I think I think he's going to try and do very hard. I think he's going to try and help us with border. We have unbelievably bad border laws, immigration laws, the weakest in the world, laughed at by everybody in the world. And Mexico has very strong immigration laws, so they can help us until we straighten out our immigration laws, which have been bad for many, many years, decades, and we're going to have them taken care of. But very interesting, though, was my 4 meetings. I'll be meeting with 2 or 3 more, and we'll make a decision on the United States Supreme Court, the new justice. That'll be made over the next few days, and we'll be announcing it on Monday, and I look forward to that. I think the person that is chosen will be outstanding. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, who did you speak with, sir? Mr. President. Mr. President, who spoke?
I'll be announcing that on Monday.
Mr. President,
Monday.
you quit the WTO.
WTO's treated the United States very badly, and I hope they change their ways. They have been treating us very badly for many, many years, and that's why we were at a big disadvantage with the WTO. And we're not planning anything now, but if they don't treat us properly, we will be doing something. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. President, did you speak? Mr. President, is Michael Cohen going to flip, sir? Will Michael Cohen flip, sir?
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, is North Korea deceiving you, sir? Do you still trust Kim, sir, North Korea?
She's fantastic. There's no way.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep moving, let's go.
That's good. You're getting better. Is everything fine, folks? Everything good? Huh?
Your desk